Hello, welcome to This Week in Focus. This week has seen a tug of war between the ruling government and adversaries like General David Sejusa and former NRM Secretary General John Patrick Amama Mbabazi. The presidential advisor on special duties, Nassan Sebagala, also resigned from his position, and President Museveni finally agreed to meet the Parliamentary Probe Committee investigating the standard gauge railway scam, however, outside Parliament in State House Entebbe. I am Anita Mwangozi, joined by our sign language interpreter Susan Mujawa. It is indeed a great pleasure to have you join us this lovely afternoon. President Yoweri Museveni dismissed allegations that he disrespected procurement procedures in awarding tenders for the construction of the standard gauge railway. Appearing before the Parliamentary Probe Committee investigating the rot in the sector, the president turned the blame on people that he said are using procedural issues to sabotage the project.
It was probably the climax of the standard gauge railway probe as the committee met the president at State House Entebbe to put across questions in regard to allegations that he was engaged in shameful acts of corruption, flouting procurement procedures, and single-handedly picking a contractor. After a closed meeting with the committee and the Inspector General of Government, Irene Mulia-Gonja, the president emerged to address the journalists on what transpired.
The president has managed to answer most of our questions, ranging from the very beginning of his role in this whole process. He actually said his strategic role begins from the questions. How many days does it take for a container of cargo from Mombasa to Kampala? Why doesn't the private sector use the existing railway to transit their goods from Mombasa to here?
We need to move fast on the issue of the railway. The Banyankore and some other groups say, Kachweyo atumtumchira. Abaganda bagambe kachigweyo afumtumchira. That means if you are hunting an animal, if you are in ambush against an animal and then it comes out of the bush, and then you say, let the animal all come out. By the time you throw the spear, you may end up injuring the tail only, and the animal goes away. If you want to put that proverb in English, it is called procrastination is the thief of time.
The president turned his guns on a mysterious group he says is using the extension of the debate on the matter to delay what he says is economically strategic to the country.
Well, as there could be some glaring questions, as you put it, these questions are actually procedural. Most of them are procedural. The president emphasized his strategic role of making sure that Uganda does not lag behind as far as the railway is concerned.
I don't want the railway to bypass Uganda, because if we delay, South Sudan can reach an agreement with Kenya, and then the railway goes through another route, not through Uganda. The same with Rwanda. Rwanda can reach an agreement with Tanzania, and the railway just goes through Tanzania. So there is that angle, the strategic linkage, which we should not miss by endless debates and all that. People who are hiding behind those procedural points when they are completely oblivious to our strategic interests.
The president says talks pointing to skipping of the procurement procedures are not valid, as he insists there's no need for that.
I cannot tell anybody, and it's not necessary to circumvent procurement regulations, because the procurement regulations are very well graduated. There is a way you can procure something expeditiously, following the law. There is a way you can take long. So I can never say ignore procurement regulations, because they are broad enough to cover all legitimate work.
The committee is expected to report to Parliament on the 11th of January, which is a few hours away, and are yet to meet American Rosa Whittaker, who is alleged to have negotiated the $4 billion bribe allegedly passed to the UPDF Engineering Brigade. Sabit Joseph, Dabas Television.
As their 2015 kicks off, Uganda is headed for many political events that may either strengthen democracy or drift the country into further turmoil. Legislators who are at the center defining the country's future destiny warn that just like the past electoral years, roles in the battlefield may only favor the ruling government. The opposition cites political machinations being masterminded by the ruling government ahead of the 2016 general elections that they say are aimed at dividing the opposition. Our senior political reporter Timothy Sibasi takes a look at the year 2015.
Many Ugandans setting resolutions for the year 2015 to the political arena. The year is being perceived as a turning point in Uganda's politics. In Parliament, many are uncertain on whether they will reclaim their seats as flag bearers of the respective parties, especially after the Electoral Commission set February this year for parties to start holding their delegates' conference and party primaries.
I have a feeling balancing the constituency and to create an environment that returns you to Parliament for another term, and at the same time creating a situation where you need to be in Parliament when there's somebody running after your position.
More independent MPs are going to come because the elections are not going to be free and fair. But there are people who are supported by their voters. Whether you bring a bulldozer, you cannot remove them. People will vote them.
We know we are not yet organized on the primaries. We don't know which form it is going to take, whether we are going to line up. Of course, we're talking about line up because we don't have the money. The government doesn't have the money. The party doesn't have the money.
The road to 2016 will mainly be determined by the outcomes of the proposed electoral reforms and review of the Constitution. Key among the reforms that many think may not happen is the restoration of presidential term limits, with many still wondering whether having an independent electoral commission can be a reality given the numerical strength of the ruling party in the House.
The electoral commission of the country will never be independent unless something happens. The electoral commission will never be independent if President Museveni is the one determining the shape and the program of the electoral commission.
Independent commission is constitutional, and that one you can't change. It's a constitutional that we must have an independent electoral commission. That institution must be there. The others are secondary.
I would like to warn colleagues in Parliament that if they try to frustrate these reforms, they will be the first victims of a badly organized election. They will be the first victims.
While we say the opposition have been losing the elections for many years, I can still say they have issues with the Electoral Commission. But I can still say that the suggestions they are going to bring during the amendments will definitely try to streamline the Electoral Commission.
In spite of these major events geared at shaping the governance of the country, the opposition says a ploy to have the opposition weakened by the regime in power is at play.
At a very critical moment when we're supposed to be crystallizing this unity, voices of division have already emerged, implying that opposition unity is still a long way.
Whereas much confusion is expected to play in the political courtyard of the ruling party, the opposition also forecast major defection within it.
We expect the renaissance, the rebirth of FDC or the death of FDC. The time we shall go to the delegates conference to elect new party leadership and also to elect probably a flag bearer.
We might be witnessing the demise of the post-independence political groups, and perhaps I envisage an inevitable emergence of another political force.
Though the opposition is likely to face major setbacks, the ruling party, the NRM, is also anticipating a political rift which in one way or the other may to a larger extent affect its anticipated victory in 2016 if the internal leadership squabbles are not resolved. Timothy Bassi, Star Vision, Kampala.